This video lesson will review simple, compound, and complex sentences. You will identify different sentence structures and have a go at writing simple, compound, and complex sentences. If you see this icon on the screen, it means that a worksheet or a video is available for you in the description below. The worksheet for this lesson can be found at link number 1. Download it now if you haven't already. There are 3 main types of sentence structures: simple, compound, and complex. It's important to use each of these structures in your writing because it makes your writing more engaging for the reader. Let's start with simple sentences. A simple sentence has one independent clause. That is, it has one subject, one main verb, and is a completed thought. Here we'll take a look at some examples of simple sentences. The first, the family went out for dinner. Here is the subject of the sentence, and here is the main verb, the action being taken by the subject. It makes sense and so is a completed thought. Here is another simple sentence. Wayne and his friend went hiking through the mountains. It has one subject even though there is more than one person in the subject. This just means that it's a compound subject. And here is the verb, and it's a completed thought. Now let's move on to compound sentences. A compound sentence is 2 or more independent clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunctions can be remembered using the acronym FANBOYS: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Here we'll take a look at some examples of compound sentences. The first, the wind blew and the door slammed. Here is the first independent clause with its subject and verb. Here is the second independent clause. And here is the coordinating conjunction joining them. Notice that both independent clauses are completed thoughts. They can stand alone by themselves and they make sense. Here is another compound sentence. It was raining, so I drove to work. Here is the first independent clause with its subject and verb. Here is the second independent clause. And here is the coordinating conjunction joining them. Again, both are complete thoughts. Now to complex sentences. A complex sentence is a combination of an independent clause and a dependent clause. Unlike an independent clause, a dependent clause is not a completed thought. Subordinating conjunctions are used to join these clauses together. Common subordinating conjunctions include because, since, whenever, when, whereas, if, although, while, and even though. Now let's take a look at some examples of complex sentences. The first, the door slammed because the wind blew. Here is the independent clause, the door slammed. It is a complete thought. Here is the dependent clause, because the wind blew. This is not a complete thought. Because this sentence has a combination of an independent clause and a dependent clause, it is a complex sentence. You'll notice that the order of the clauses can be changed. If we place the dependent clause first, as it is in the second sentence, we must use a comma to separate the clauses. Watch the video in link number 2 if you'd like some more help with these. Activity 1. In this first activity, you will be reading through sentences and working out whether they are simple, compound, or complex sentences. Let's have a go at a few together before you start. Here are 3 sentences. The first, Sarah ordered strawberry and her friend ordered chocolate. In this sentence, I can see that 2 clauses are joined with the conjunction and I know that each is a clause because each has a subject and a verb. Each of these clauses makes sense on its own, which means that they are independent clauses. A sentence with two independent clauses is a compound sentence. Now on to the second sentence. Chris and his friends walked quickly home from school. This sentence has the word and, but I can see that it's just to form a compound subject. The subject of this sentence is Chris and his friends. The one verb is walked. Walked quickly home from school. This sentence has one independent clause. It's a simple sentence. The third sentence. While Tina went shopping, Ben cleaned the house. I can see that this clause here is independent. It's a completed thought. Ben cleaned the house. This clause, however, is not a completed thought. While Tina went shopping. It doesn't make sense on its own. It is a dependent clause. The subordinating conjunction joining the two clauses is while. Because this sentence has an independent and a dependent clause, it is a complex sentence. Now try some on your own. If you like, download and complete your work on the worksheet found at link number 1. If you get stuck, use this guide to help you. Pause the video here until you're ready to move on. Let's go through the answers. The first sentence has one independent clause. The subject is I, and the verb is read. So the first sentence is a simple sentence. The second sentence has one independent clause. It's a complete thought. And one dependent clause. It's an incomplete thought. This means it's a complex sentence. The third sentence also has one dependent clause and one independent clause. This is also a complex sentence. The fourth sentence has two independent clauses. His room was a mess. He was too tired to clean it. The conjunction but is joining them. A sentence with two independent clauses is a compound sentence. The fifth sentence has only one subject and one verb, a linking verb. Because it has only one independent clause, it is a simple sentence. The last sentence has two clauses that can stand on their own, joined with a coordinating conjunction. It is a compound sentence. Activity 2. In this activity, you will be turning simple sentences into compound sentences. Here's an example. Here is our simple sentence. Sandra was lost. I have a lot of options to turn it into a compound sentence. I could write, Sandra was lost and she was getting scared. Or, Sandra was lost but she wasn't worried. Or, Sandra was lost for she hadn't been paying attention. Or, Sandra was lost so she asked for help. Any of these would be a correct answer. Now it's your go. Turn each simple sentence into a compound sentence by adding an independent clause using a coordinating conjunction. The coordinating conjunctions are all listed here. Write down your new compound sentences on the worksheet. Remember to use a comma before the conjunctions. Pause here until you're ready to move on with the lesson. Here are some possible answers. I didn't want to clean my room, but I had no choice. Her arm was very sore, so she went to the doctor. Max was tired and he was getting angry. Sam came first in the race, so he went through to the finals. We need to leave now or we will be late. Yours will probably be different to mine. Just check to make sure that each of your sentences has a coordinating conjunction joining two independent clauses. Pause here until you finish checking your work. Activity 3. In Activity 3, you will be turning simple sentences into complex sentences. Remember that a complex sentence is a combination of an independent clause and a dependent clause. That means you will need to add a dependent clause to each. Here is a list of subordinating conjunctions you might use. If you know others that aren't on this list, you can use those. Let's do the first one together. Here is our simple sentence. He went swimming. I'm looking at the conjunctions to give me some ideas. Here we go. Because it was so hot, he went swimming. Whenever he visited his friend's house, he went swimming. He went swimming even though it was cold. All of these are complex sentences. I made sure to add a dependent clause to each. Now it's your turn. Turn each simple sentence into a complex sentence by adding a dependent clause using a subordinating conjunction. Some subordinating conjunctions are listed here. Write down your new complex sentence on the worksheet. Remember that if your dependent clause comes first, you will need to use a comma. Pause here until you're ready to move on with the lesson. Let's check some answers. Here are the complex sentences I came up with. The dog barks whenever the mail is delivered. It's a bad idea to run on the concrete because it's dangerous. Even though he wasn't hungry, the man ate his dinner. Although she didn't study, Tiffany got every question correct. You've got a lot of energy, whereas I'm tired. Yours will probably be different. Just check to make sure that each of your sentences has an independent clause and a dependent clause. Pause here until you've finished. Activity 4. In this last activity, you will write 2 simple sentences, 2 compound sentences, and 2 complex sentences. Here are some pictures to help you think. Pause the video here until you've finished writing. Well done on completing another lesson. If you like, leave one of each of the simple, compound, and complex sentences you wrote in the last activity in the comments below. Hope to see you again soon for another lesson.